Gooner, Ronnie Piper, and Tractor Boy, Luke Hume were on a search for a team with pride, passion, and glory. They went to the Big Apple and found the New York Red Bulls. From the Garden State to the Empire State, red runs deep.
Hello, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. It's currently 25 to 7 here in the UK. Well, my calculation is currently 25 to 3 in New York, or is it 25 to 2?
Oh boy, I remember you guys do Celsius over there. Yeah, like oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were asking me the weather. I'm sorry,
No,
yes, it's like 25 to 2. Yes.
25 to 2. We're here to talk about another week of New Red Bulls. This is series 2, episode 11. This is actually the third episode we got out in a week, 3 weeks, which is actually quite good for us because we've been going on quite a long breaks, and we could easily have 15, 16 episodes by now. We did keep doing that. So we're back another week. It's another week of Lee's Tap. Um, the team advanced to the next round of 32, over thanks to a 2-1 win over a team I won't try and pronounce because I will butcher it.
Atlético San Luis.
Yes, thank you, Anthony. I let the S do that. I would just butcher it, so I'm not really going to try and do it. So that's a great win for Red Bulls. I think we should start. Let's start right at the top. A win, a win, and a PK win. Got a job done, didn't it, Anthony? Really?
Yeah, I mean they tried everything they could to lose it.
Yes.
They gave up that. Vanzier had a great early goal with a header. Then they just couldn't find that second goal. San Luis ties the game, and then somehow John Tolkien has a big old brain fart and trips a player in the box. Thankfully, Carlos Coronel came up with a big save, and in the 94th minute, Vanzier was able to put his second goal away. Without a doubt, Vanzier's best game as a New York Red Bull, and exactly what we needed from him. Hopefully, there's more of that to come in the rest of this tournament.
Exactly. That's what I didn't watch it. It was something like 1:30 in the morning. So and it was like a Monday morning. I got to be up at 8 to be in the office. So like that's not happening. But I watched the highlights and I agree. Fanzine had a really good game. That's why we spent so much money on him. Let's be pretty blunt about that. We spent a lot of money on this person, and he's not really delivered so far. I think even if you take away all the off-field issues, which we know what happened there, even if you take it away, he's not performed when had been able to play really. But none of our strikers have done it on a consistent basis this season. That has been our biggest downfall this year. We just can't. If we concede a goal or two, we're not going to win a match because we can't score goals. That's one of our biggest issues this year. But we're through just about, and we sort of said last week in our podcast. Whoever beat New England, whoever won out the last match against New England, New York, or if Red Run, but really they were going to top the group, really, weren't they? You always thought that both teams would probably beat. Say that again, Anthony.
Yeah. Yeah, it was almost a tale of two teams. They don't seem like the same team that we've seen in Major League Soccer over the last few months. The New England game, the defense was tight. They took care of business. I was unaware until that game that we were going to be playing penalties for an extra point. So that happened. And then they still, aside from a few moments, they really showed some composure against Athletic San Luis. So now it's a very winnable game against NYCFC. I think that NYCFC is struggling, to say the least.
Yeah.
They're just in MLS standings. They are 13th in the table, so they are not themselves either. And they have not played well on the road. They only have one win on the road. They will technically be the road team for this game at Red Bull Arena. I don't think if NYCFC goes on, I do think they will continue to play at Red Bull Arena. Red Bull Arena is one of the venues of choice for the Leagues Cup. So yeah, I think that this is prime for them to get through. What happens after that? They'll face the winner of either DC or Philadelphia. Again, winnable, but if it's Philadelphia, I think it's a bit more of a rough patch than it would be if they played a team like DC.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think a game is favourite. I think the NYC games is definitely a winnable game. And I mean, let's be quite blunt. This team aren't going to win most things this year. We're out of the US Open Cup. We're nowhere near the Supporter Shield top of the standings. I think these are a playoff team by the end of the season, but chances of listen, I know anything can happen in MLS Cup, but chances of them actually doing a run to win MLS Cup is also, you would say, quite unlikely. Again, you never know. But really, this is the only chance they've got to win something here, really. And like, they might as well just go all out, really. You've got no MLS games at that moment. So you might as well just go all out and just try and win this thing. Or at least get to like, I might think the top four get CONCACAF Champions League or top three.
Yeah, I believe it's the final four get
Yeah.
get into the CONCACAF Champions League. Yes.
So that's a good opportunity to get back in CONCACAF. On the only way we get back in it next year. Like, and I agree. I think if we get out of it, so you face Philly or Atlanta, but slightly harder. Or I would agree. I think Philly are probably the harder of the two. But I think it's still a game we go. You think, yeah, they can go there, or come in. I'm not sure what it is, and get something out of it. Game you fancy them to at least be evenly matched. So I think it would be nice for them to just go all out, get at least try and get through to the next round. I think. I'm quite confident. I think we'll see that. To be fair.
Yeah, I mean, now's the time, right?
Yeah.
Let's give it a go. I think the team certainly feels it. They're acting that way. I was at training today. There's a lot of smiles, peps in the step, really a lot of hard work. So I see the chance being there. The schedule will work out as it will. It'll still be rough. But if they can get through these next two rounds, it'll all be doable. Also, the likelihood they won't play another Liga MX team until potentially the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
So it'll be MLS versus MLS in this bracket up until that point. The other thing is Philadelphia will more than likely, it appears, host if Red Bull and Philly play. It'll be the inverse if DC wins their game, then it'll be at Red Bull Arena somewhere between August 6th and 8th. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we'll see what happens on Thursday. I think it's like 1:30 in the morning here tomorrow on Friday morning for us. Yeah, 1 o'clock in the morning for so I probably will give it a skip. We catch up with highlights on Friday. But I think yeah, it's just, and we've got a new signing.
Yes. A Colombian youth international. He's 19 years old.
Yeah.
Not a lot on him, defender. So I think that this is an important move because they don't have a lot of coverage on defense.
Yeah.
I don't know how much he's really going to play. I would expect that he'll be playing more once his visa comes through with Red Bull 2. And I think Hassan Ndam will still continue to be the backup, at least for now. But this is one for the future. This is one that I think we'll see more of him next season in a starting role, depending on how things work out. Yeah.
Yeah, it just helps, I think. Like, obviously we lost Severs Junior this year. So far there's no replacement. Do you end with that happening, or do you think that's probably it's not something's going to happen next year, really?
There's a lot of mixed messages coming down about transfers for this team. I do know for a fact that they are looking at some very interesting players that I can't name right now.
Yeah.
But they appear to be realigning their strategy, and with the rule changes coming to MLS salary rosters, I think that this team is going to look very different, and there's going to be a lot more money coming in for transfers. Now, I know that there's a lot of people that feel that Red Bull should have done more in this transfer window. It's really difficult to bring in players at this point, because what you're getting is a player that unless they're going to South America or Central America to get a player, any European players are in preseason mode. So, however many 5-6 games it takes them to get accustomed, you're already at the end of the season. So Red Bull likes to do a lot of their spending in January, leading into the start of the season, before all of that. So I know that there's a lot of frustrated fans, but it's also something that I think that has been the norm for the Red Bulls of late.
Yeah, I think we haven't really had any big summer signings for a few years now, have we? I think you could go back to 20, even obviously we had Henri years ago, Tim Cahill, but really since its whole, since I moved to its what we call it the high press and Red Bull energy drink soccer, we've not had any real summer transfers. We went through a stage. Remember that stage we had all them weird loanees from like Omar Dami came for a bit. I think he didn't get sent off in his last game, in a playoff game, something like that.
Yes, he did.
And that's all he did for us. Got sent off in a playoff game.
And then I believe it was 2 seasons ago. The winger or striker Samuel Tete was on loan as well from.
Did we get Josh Sims on some as well for a bit?
Yes, so Sims was on loan from, I believe, Southampton.
Yes, he was. There was a Natasha Patel link, I believe, what got that over the line.
Yeah.
And then he came back for 2020. Then a small thing called COVID happened.
And that was that.
That was that. He went home. But yeah, I think I agree. I think we see very spare answer. But I would say, like you see, obviously it's probably going to be changed to Rourke soon with the Messi and all that sort of stuff coming. But I would say I think next year, no matter what happens next year, Sarah get finish above the line, which I think they are a playoff team because it's hard not to be a playoff team now with the way they retraded. I think they are. I think next year's be one of the most important years in its franchise history because it's now I won a trophy in 5 years now. No, and last week we were calling it. I'm going to call it glory days, which is quite depressing because in them years, the 2013, 2018, we were so dominant of Major League Soccer. Like even if we didn't win the Shield, we won Eats most years, or we won something. We got to the final of the cup. And you always felt it was a good chance for winning at least one trophy. And I personally don't think we've had that in the club, even really since the latter Armits days. Like Stuber got brought in. He obviously now is Salzburg boss, which is an interesting turn of the books. But next year is such a key year, I feel. I don't know if you agree with that, but
yeah, I mean, it's going to be a very different team. We don't know if Troy Lesane will remain.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that's going to have to do with whether or not the team finishes in a playoff spot. I think if they make the playoffs, he stays no matter what. And he'll get a full year and a chance to grow a team. But if they don't, there's a really good chance that they look outside and try to find a new manager. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. There will be a lot of changes, though. I do see players leaving, more coming in. So I think there's going to be another overhaul of the team to really put them in a different direction.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it's more likely going to happen than not. We should touch on it quickly. As I said, Gareth Southgate is now the Salzburg manager, which I would like. The cynical side of me thinks that is always the plan all along. He was always going to get a job in the Red Bull group somewhere. I did not expect him to get sacked from the Red Bulls, then get employed by another Red Bull club about 2-3 months later. I don't know how I feel about it because he didn't really achieve much at New Red Bulls. It's hard to I know last year he got in the playoffs, got to a semi-final of the cup, which they got absolutely smashed in. And that was the best chance of winning an Open Cup we had in years. Against a USL seat team in the final. But yeah, he's got a took his job at Salzburg now, really, hasn't he?
Yeah, so the Salzburg, so he has a big history with Austrian football, and especially with Red Bull. I believe he was the coach of
The B team,
Leipzig.
wasn't
I'm
he?
probably
Yeah,
butchering that. But they and so the relationship was already there. I think people don't realize while Red Bull does have a connection with all of these teams, it's not as tight as people would think.
yeah,
So what it was more the fact that he has a history with Salzburg that, and they always kept that connection open.
yeah,
Plus this was a very unexpected situation for
yeah,
Salzburg. Salzburg just a few weeks ago lost their sporting director Christoph Rund to Bayern Munich. He'll be
yeah,
replacing Salihamidzic and Oliver Kahn. So that's huge. He was with the team for 17 years. He helped to really
yeah,
build. And then you had what to me is the most shocking of all of the moves, Matthias Geisler leaving after playing the first game of the season
yeah.
and a cup game, going and accepting a big money position with a Saudi club. That's not where I expected his career would go. I expected him to be.
Most people wouldn't predict that a year ago.
Yeah.
Say a year ago, 6 months ago, most people wouldn't predict that.
Yeah, I mean it's quite shocking, especially because this is, they're such a perennially good team.
Yeah.
I think Struber is going to have hopefully an easier time because the squad is pretty well set. But yeah, Salzburg is right now in a whole big old mess, and they're just looking for stability as the
Yeah.
season starts.
Yeah, I mean, if he doesn't win the league in Salzburg, that is something incredible. I haven't won it like 10 years in a row now, or something like that. It's like it's quite crazy. I know that. Like it's quite a few in a years now, isn't it? It's quite a few years in a row now. I know that. Um, but also with other news today on the 1st of August, we have a third kit, which
Yeah,
I can't believe we're still on that third kit. Two kits to get a third kit, but we also do somehow. But I actually don't mind the new kit. I quite like it.
I love it. It's an homage,
Um,
back to it's a celebration of 50 years of hip hop.
yeah,
So it's got the little badge on it too that says it down at the bottom. I had a close look at it today.
yeah.
I saw one. I did hear that this wasn't confirmed. And I believe this is actually going to be a game kit. So I don't think this is going to be like a training kit like the Pride
I
jerseys.
think they're playing it. I think they're playing that in it for
Yes.
Inter Miami game. I believe.
Yes, that's the word that I'm hearing is that they'll be playing with it against Miami.
Yeah, so it's gonna be interesting. I really want one. But I went to look on the MLS site. It's $99. Um,
It's a bit
flat
expensive.
flat shipping. Shipping here to the UK now is about 26 quid. So it adds up. So, but I like it, and anything to stop us wearing the yellow kit because we can't win in a yellow kit
Yeah.
to save our lives. Um, so yeah, so that's another kit, and everything's not too bad. Like,
It could always
um,
be worse.
it could always be worse, and the two's got 2 wins, which doesn't
Yeah.
happen often.
Yeah, no, it definitely doesn't. And again, I think that New England game really set the tone. I know they didn't score from open play, but they played really well and earned. I mean, they should have scored in that game, but they did a really great job holding a really tough New England team, and then riding the wave of insanity against Athletic San Luis. So yeah, they played two completely different games. I think they know what they need to change.
Yeah,
And we'll be covering Troy Lissane's press conference later today. I think he's already done, and we're just waiting on quotes. So once we hear about that, we'll see what he has to say about the game going into NYCFC tomorrow.
So I think the big thing now is goals. That's a big thing now. We were talking about this last week. Like last year, we had Lewis Morgan scoring what 23 goals when he scored in the end. Obviously, he's not been fit really all season. Even when he has been fit, he's not really looked up to it on the pitch. You got Fanzine, who's not really performed on the pitch so far this year. You got Corey Burke, who he looks okay, probably one of the better options up front. But again, he's not a prolific striker. And you have to say, which is quite depressing, that our biggest attacking force at the moment is Tom Barlow, which
Yes.
is something like we shouldn't be saying in 2023.
That was not the plan.
Well, I was actually saying to Ronnie last week, it's quite well known. I'm not Tom Barlow's biggest fan. It's quite well known. I've said it numerous times in this podcast. I'm not his biggest fan. But I'm gonna defend him a bit here. I don't feel it's he's been made to a position and a role he's not capable of really. He's not a starting 11 player in Major League Soccer. He is a roster player, and he's been put out there to do a role he's not really capable of. He's not going to score you 20 goals a season, like, and the fact he's our main man at the moment sort of shows our strikers aren't really being active this season, really.
Yeah, and now he's tied with well, we did talk about MLS goals. He is tied with 2 goals with Dante Van Zier. Van Zier had 2 goals the other night, but that's for Leagues Cup. That doesn't count. Yeah, so the tide is slowly turning, but yeah, at this point, Barlow has been the most consistent forward we've had.
Yeah, you can't argue with that bit, share because he has, and yeah, it's a very interesting. I think it's just interesting in general at the moment, like where we're going, like who gets golden boot? Is it a forward? Like at the moment it's hard to see. You get golden boot. It's a lot difficult to be a striker because I striker haven't really scored all season. Like, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Like, he was fit. If Lewis Morgan fit, he probably win golden boot. But yeah, it's difficult at the moment. I have to say that. But yeah, I don't know. It's very difficult. But on another note, I've been watching a bit of New York Bulls twos lately, and they've got 2 wins on trot well, haven't they?
They do. They're playing great. Now that they're in MLS Next Pro, the competition is more to the level that they're at.
Yeah.
Last year it was really hard competing in the USL Championship. It was young players essentially getting bossed by veterans, lower league veterans. Now this is more their speed, and they've been really, really good. They're 6-3-1 at home. They're currently 4th in the league, only 3 points out of second place, really. And really it's them, and Crown Legacy is in first place right now. That is the MLS Next Pro team for Charlotte FC.
Yeah.
So that's so they're flying at the moment. And I believe they play their next game is going to be away on Sunday.
I do wish we had a better name for our reserve team rather than New York Rebels 2. Like,
Maybe they'll well, we used to always call them the Baby Bulls, but maybe
things I've heard, I don't know if it's true or not, I don't know. I've heard they want to call it Empire Soccer Club.
that was a rumor.
But Empire Sports Club wouldn't let them, I've heard.
That was the big story back then. Yeah, they did want to call them Empire Soccer Club. Yes.
So I don't know if I really like that name, to be fair. I don't.
Better than 2.
Yeah. that was going to be the original name of the MLS team, wasn't it? Empire Soccer Club.
Yeah, and then I think it went to Metro Stars.
Yeah,
Trying to keep it somewhat close to the Cosmos,
yeah.
who are no longer with us again.
Well, but they are still, but not really, aren't they? They're still a technically a club, but we're not a league or something like that. Some sort of bizarre
They
thing.
they pulled themselves. They did play for NISA,
Yeah,
which is the National Independent Soccer Association. But they only played their youth academy. So they played Cosmos
yeah.
B. And then they just 2 years ago decided they didn't want to do it anymore and haven't played a single
Right.
game since. They're still listed as a NISA team, but they have not played.
Yeah. Once again, anyway, Cosmos dies death.
Yeah, I was on the field when they won the NASL trophy, and I think it was 2016. So they had a good comeback for a little bit. They beat the New York Red Bulls, they beat NYCFC in the US Open Cup. And then it all just fell apart.
It fell apart, as it did. So obviously, as Anthony mentioned early on, New Red Bulls face NYCFC in the on round 22 of the FA Cup in the next match. It'll probably be by the time I get this out, probably be the day of, I imagine, because I'll be honest, this probably won't go up as a Gordon night because it is 7 o'clock. And I would like to get home. I'm still in my office at the moment, so I'd like to get home. So it'll probably be tomorrow by the time this goes up. So hopefully we get a win out of that, and then. It depends if we win, we'll get another League Cup match. If we don't, we back to MLS duty. And if we back to MLS duty, it's the game against DC United. And that's already filled, isn't it? I believe. I believe.
No, it'll be at Red Bull Arena.
Football Arena. That's Football Arena. Um,
It is subject to the League's Cup in a few different ways, though. That game is scheduled for the 20th.
yeah,
If NYCFC, I'm sorry, if New York Red Bulls or DC United make it to the semifinals,
yeah,
it'll be only, I think, 2 or 3 days before what
yeah,
is supposed to be the final. So more than likely they will bump the game to later in the season.
yeah.
Um, but the
Because
week after, they will not bump that game
the week
because the
after
week after,
is when Leon Messi is coming to Red Bull Arena,
correct.
which is going to be a big game. You're going to be there, aren't you, Anthony?
I will, yeah, I will be there,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's going to be a very big game at Red Bull Arena that weekend. Will be a sellout. I would have Bank Man United. It's going to be a sellout. Probably not many New York Red Bull fans actually in there. Maybe predominantly Messi fans. But having seen some of the prices they're selling for, I can't really blame them because I think if I could sell a ticket for £4,000, I probably would because that's your season ticket paid for next year. So it's going to be a big game, and just seeing Messi come to town is going to be pretty incredible. See him play his first match in MLS. Well, a few people think he already has played a few matches in MLS because like his Wikipedia page got updated the other week to say he got 2 MLS goals. I was like, no, he hasn't. And
There is a fear that so there is gonna have to be a pretty rough choice from Inter Miami. A few days before the game in New York, they will be playing the semifinals of the US Open Cup.
yeah,
And so Lionel Messi will more than likely not be playing both of
can't see
those
him playing in
games.
that.
Yeah, so I personally believe he will skip the US Open Cup game
Yeah,
and
I agree.
play the game, the
He
MLS.
got to come to New York. He's got to come to New York, surely.
Yeah,
Like biggest sports market in Manhattan. He got to come to New York. I'll be so surprised if he doesn't.
yeah.
I've got about 5 minutes left before we go, so let's wrap this up. So, a couple of things. Obviously, we're going to be releasing our first edition of the Hudson Metro before that game on 22nd of August. I looked at the first draft of the day. It looks incredible. So I'm very excited for that. So that looks very, very exciting. Obviously, we will have a few more podcasts out. We'll have one next week to recap on the game against NYCFC. And who knows, we might have a few more after that, depending if we go through, we might even do a championship final one. But let's not get that excited yet because we are only in round 32. So we'll hold back a little bit first. So
That's the dream.
that's a dream. That's a dream. And that's what we want, isn't it? We want to win trophies again. Like 2018 was such a magical year. I'll never forget 2018. It was so magical, and I just want to win more trophies. Let's see us win more trophies, and it's been a while. So let's try and win more trophies, guys. So that's pretty much wraps up this episode. Thank you for joining me, Anthony. One
Thank you.
last thing before we go. What is your score prediction for tomorrow night? I should say, Anthony.
I'm predicting a 2-0 New York Red Bulls win.
Okay, I'm gonna go 1-0. I can't see them scoring 2 goals, but I think they've got enough in themselves to get a win over a a poor. I know we're not amazing, but I would still say based on seeing so far, we're still a better team out of two. So I think they've got enough in to get a victory over NYCFC. So we'll see. It's a big derby. I believe it's another derby, the first derby in the League Cup. So it's all to play for. 8 p.m. kickoff in US, 1 o'clock in US in UK, which is amazing. I can't wait for that. So I'll see you again. Stay safe. Look out for each other. Be kind. And of course, at Red Balls. Goodbye.